From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's Just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
May the odds be forever in your favor.
You've got a tip for Melissa, your intuition about an old case, your research on a cold case, how to convince law enforcement that anyone with reindeer antlers on their smart car should be arrested immediately. Anything. Tell us about it by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837, or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. You just might hear your tip on the podcast. And now here's your host. The holiday Starbucks cups are out, and she will cut a bitch for that last purple one with the sparkles, Melissa Morgan.
More cowbell. Two things. One, I've never cut a bitch for a Starbucks holiday limited edition cup.
But you would. Depends on the year and the design of the cup.
I believe that should stay between us. And I am angry at you for airing our dirty laundry.
There was one year in particular that I think she was going to, the lady, we were in Laguna Beach and we found out that there was a lady there. We'd been searching for this particular cup all holiday season, and we were in Laguna Beach at a Starbucks inside a grocery store.
Right.
And the lady at the Starbucks said, "Oh yeah, we just sold our last one. I think that lady's still out in the parking lot." I think she was still in the parking lot getting in the car. I think Melissa would have gone out there and really done some damage if I hadn't held her back. But
yeah, you're typically the sensible one. Yeah. But then you went and bought it for me online and paid like $8 million. Well,
that's because I'm a good man.
You are a good man. You're thoughtful. And this is the second part. I really hate to break this to you, baby doll, but last year after Christmas, I purchased a couple of items, and they've been waiting in the garage for us, and they are reindeers that we put on our cars.
Oh, no. Well, I said a smart car.
Right. That's the only difference. Neither of us drives a smart car, and they aren't antlers. It's actually a reindeer, like a soft reindeer face with a red nose.
Oh, so
and you kind of lash it to your grill. I bought one for each of us. I'm sorry.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I didn't know when I was going to spring it on you, and here you are reading my mind.
Oh, now I literally, really just found out about this now.
You did. It was when you said it in your intro, that's why I was laughing. I was trying not to shit my pants because I love my podcast room, and I do not want it to smell like shit.
No, please.
But I thought, he's going to be so happy when he finds out I got last year 50% off, the day after Christmas. Reindeer accoutrement.
You've been saving it all this time?
Yep, I have. They're in the garage.
And you've managed to hide. Well, there's a lot of shit in the garage.
There's a lot of shit in the garage, but they're face down on top of some things. You may have seen them, but you just looked past them. But
Probably.
I was like, I'm waiting. They're right here. I don't know when I'm going to put it on his car and put one on my car.
Oh, my God.
Fucking cute. And the antlers have little fake lights on them. They're really cute. I think the reindeer also has a bow tie.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they have a red. It's just like it's like the size of like a toilet seat cover. It's like a big round brown felt reindeer face.
And it just affixes to the grill. Huh?
You tie it to the front of your car, so it looks like Rudolph is leading your car.
So they're Rudolph.
Yeah, they're big
faces.
Red nose. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're matching? They're the same?
Well, yeah, they're the same. I got two.
Okay.
For the price of one.
That's pretty cool. I actually think that's kind of cool.
Okay, good. Because I know that was just hilarious that you said that, because the people with the antlers are adorable, but the people with the antlers on a smart car.
I saw one. That's what made me think about it.
Okay.
I saw a smart car with the antlers on. And for a smart car, I'm sorry. For those of you environmentally conscious folks out there, just block your ears. They're the stupidest looking cars.
They're sad.
They're awful. And
I mean, I'm sure they're really wonderful if you like it or if you're a tiny person, but to me, it just looks like someone lost a roller skate.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And there's just one like spinning around.
And I thought those antlers were going to tip the damn thing over.
Right, exactly. That's the thing. It was like the weight of the felt would just topple a smart car. But yeah, now we've lost 874 listeners.
We love you.
We love you.
Yeah.
Your car is dumb, but we love you.
Yeah.
So speaking of our fantastic listeners, I got an email from Tipster Kira. That's her real name. Her name for reviewing podcasts is Kiki. And she said she almost choked on her muffin listening to last week's episode because I was thanking her for her review. And she sent me a link to an AMSR type audio recording on YouTube. And Kira, I adore you, but don't ever do that again. It's like an hour and 10 minutes long. And I think I got about 3 minutes in. And it's, number one, it's an Australian voice. And it's a good voice. It's not a bad voice.
Oh, wait, don't intimidate the Australian listeners.
I know, because they're amazing to us. The Australian listeners are second only to the number of listeners in the United States. I don't know what's happening, but within the last couple of weeks, it just was like, boom, just exploded with Australian listeners, and we are grateful. But so it's an Australian voice, which is, I was explaining, it isn't, Crocodile Dundee. It's a beautiful female voice, and she is narrating. At the beginning, it says, don't play this while driving your car. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I guess you're supposed to use it to kind of help you go to sleep. And it's, it's like an hour and 10 minutes or something. I was like, oh, hell no.
That's a long time.
Yeah. And she's narrating, what she calls like your intergalactic travel trip or something. And I'm like, oh no. And it's like, buckle in and blah, blah, blah. But Kira tried to explain what AMSR voices are like. And her example was, Bob Ross from the PBS painting Pretty Little Trees thing. The guy who taught the painting.
Right.
And his voice is lovely and quiet, and he was always such a fascinating dude, especially when you're, a kid and you're, watching him. And there's some just hilarious memes. Obviously, you hang around the true crime world too long and shit gets ugly, but beautiful, like screenshots of Bob Ross painting these beautiful nature scenes. And it says, what if Bob Ross was a serial killer and every little tree he painted was where he'd buried a body? And it's really funny. I'm sorry, Kira. I had to do that, but it's a hilarious meme. But I understand a little better now what the AMSR thing is. And, I don't think I have that. It's nice that you think I have that, but I think I have way too many vocal intonations. But hey, if my voice helps soothe some of these stories, I think I'm just going to take that as a huge compliment, and that's like
absolutely
a blessing, because I really wouldn't call myself an AMSR person, but I will take that as a amazing compliment. So thank you for that, Kira. And I also wanted to thank Tipster. I'm going to call her Elle because her podcast reviewing name is hilarious. It's L-E-L-L-E with _ Mo, like Elmo. I don't think she's a little red puppet from Sesame Street. I think she's probably a lovely human being.
That's a very clever...
it was very funny.
Yeah.
Elmo. So Tipster Elle, it left a lovely review, and another one that made me feel like this is someone who gets it. We're so grateful for anyone who leaves reviews for us, but it means something when they explain themselves, why they listen, why they enjoy the podcast, and their own personal opinion about what it is. And it's different. Each one is different. And she just, the last several reviews have just been, we're just really grateful, but the last several reviews have been, the podcast has been going on long enough now that people can get who we are. And if they like us, they can listen. And if they don't, there's so many great podcasts out there, and they, hopefully they'll just find another one. Another wonderful tipster, Christina, had suggested telling people to review us more, and I just can't anymore. I can't pound into anyone's head.
Well, I can.
No, you stop right now.
All right.
But what I was going to explain to Christina is that every review we have is organic and authentic. Now, when you start a podcast and you're an independent podcaster, you don't have a network, you ask everyone you know to leave a review. And, the first, 5, 10 maybe reviews were people we knew. A lot of them through my BFF Angela. There were friends of hers who found the podcast because she told them they had to and left reviews, but they were all authentic and organic. No one was forced to leave a review, and I didn't buy any reviews.
And that is done. For those of you who don't know, there are ways for podcasters to buy positive reviews and ratings.
It's bad. It's really bad. And I'm ignorant to the ways of the world. And I was really sad and shocked when some people I loved and respected, their number of reviews doubled in a week, and then it stopped. So they purchased 100 ratings, 5-star ratings or something by bots. And it's on both ends of the spectrum. People have paid. People who have a lot more money than sense have paid to have negative reviews given to people they considered, a threat.
Competitors.
To them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or someone who pissed them off. And there are big shows who've done that, which is heartbreaking a little bit. But then to pay to have positive reviews for yourself, it's just, it's like being a kid and saying, when you cheat on a test, you cheat yourself because you don't learn the lesson. And if you're trying to get into, Stanford, then, do whatever you have to do, I guess. I don't know. But I have such guilt for things I haven't done. I have guilt for things other people haven't done.
You do.
I do.
But look, the point is we don't do that.
No, we don't. And you can tell we only have 95, 96, reviews, ratings and reviews, and they are all authentic and organic. And so I wanted to say that.
And I know we have many more listeners, a lot more listeners than 95, and a lot more, thousands more. And we hope that some of you will. I already said it. Please rate or review if you can.
And here's the other thing: is that it's not always easy on whatever streaming service you're listening to. There isn't a large percentage of people use, Apple Podcasts, but it's growing so exponentially huge in the world of, Spotify and CastBox, where not everyone has an iPhone. They have an Android system, and it's easier for them to use a different streaming system. And a lot of people hate Apple products of any kind, or, iTunes, which is not really an iTunes anymore, but Apple Podcasts. But if you have, I've had people say, I've tried to start an iTunes account so I could review your podcast. We appreciate that, but please don't do anything you're uncomfortable with. But there are other ways to review. We have a Facebook page. You could go there. There's, you can get the word out. And we do appreciate that because I feel like word of mouth is becoming a really big gift for us, that people are telling other people and people are finding the podcast, and here we are. So I just wanted to explain, why we only have, a limited number of reviews, because they're real, they're organic, and they're not one of them is paid for, as far as you know. I really haven't paid. I haven't paid anyone. I don't have any money to pay anyone, but I am grateful for anyone who takes the time, even just a 5-star rating. If you don't have time to sit down and write a review, those help too. But I'm also just on the opposite end. I'm just so pissed off at the, small number of 1-star ratings we've been given. And it takes 9 to 10 5-star ratings to bring that back up. I guess I'm just not good at math. I don't know why a 1-star rating or review.
Some sort of algorithm.
Yeah. I don't know why that would hold more weight than a positive review. But so while I'm thanking people, I am always grateful when someone sends us a story. And the first one that I received about this story was from Tipster Candace. And she is in the legal field, and she is, extremely astute about true crime. And she sent this to me, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then it was like, bing, bing, bing. Like it just kept getting sent to me by other tipsters. And I was like, okay, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And we had an interview we were going to do for this week's episode that we had to postpone because the person we were going to interview had a family emergency, and those things happen. So I thought, you know what? While I have some other things on the back burner, this is such an interesting story. The more I looked into it, I thought, you know what? We're going to cover this right now. And if you want to talk timely, this just happened 2 days ago, and we're talking about it now. And this monster's name is Benjamin Schreiber, and he is in Iowa, and he is 70 years old, and he is a pile of shit. And in 1996, He and another woman were convicted of bludgeoning to death a man named John Dale Terry. Now, John Terry, let's just say, not a stellar, citizen, really. He had a pretty long arrest record, which just a shout out to Nina from Already Gone, the Already Gone podcast, because she told me months ago about newspapers.com. So it's a subscription and it's really helpful, but it's a little bit pricey unless you're really, really into old newspaper clippings, and then it's not pricey at all. It's like a treasure trove. So in an effort to never, be accused of stealing information or not doing my own research, newspapers.com has been a true gift. So when a story is current, you can Google anything and it comes up with that story. But when a story is older, let's say 23, 24 years old, it's harder to find information, even if you put in details that you know. But when you go to newspapers.com, you're like, well, shit, there's clippings from everywhere. Some of the clippings go back to the 1700s. I'm guessing they have, clippings from Benjamin Franklin's Pennywise newspaper or whatever it was called.
That's amazing.
I mean, it really is a fantastic thing. So it's a great resource. So I utilized my newspapers.com like a fucking ninja, and it was great, the information I found about this piece of shit. So Benjamin Schreiber and Evelyn Tangi were both convicted of bludgeoning John Dale Terry, and he was found in the yard of an abandoned trailer. I think it was the following day. This was the 27th of July in 1996. And for some reason, Benjamin Schreiber was arrested the following day, and Evelyn Tangi wasn't arrested for quite a while. Now, Evelyn was considered John Terry's girlfriend. And like I'd said, none of these are stellar citizens. It's not like we're talking about the mayor bludgeoning the councilman. These are kind of people on the fringes of life. And I'm not victim shaming, but John Terry had a pretty big arrest record. And here's the thing I don't understand maybe about maybe there was prison overcrowding in Iowa, but John Terry got a 10-year sentence for breaking and entering and forgery in 1979, and he served 2 years and 6 months of a 10-year sentence.
I still don't.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't,
Probably is something like, prison overcrowding or something like that. But
yeah,
boy.
Maybe. He was arrested in 1984, 5 years later, and was given a 10-year sentence for second-degree burglary. And that one he served 1 year and 11 months. Not quite 2 years of a 10-year sentence.
Wow.
If he had, stayed in, he may have not been murdered. So in 1994, he was arrested for a DUI almost exactly in the spot where his body was found. It's a little...
Ooh, that's creepy.
It is creepy. So he, was staying apparently on this farm. These kind of like down and out kind of people, I'm guessing. So Benjamin Schreiber... and John Terry was only 39, and Evelyn Tangi was like 45. So she's a little older, but she's considered his girlfriend, which I didn't. I kept looking and finally found, God bless newspapers.com. I found, that she, was considered his girlfriend. So he was found when there was a 911 call made to the, this must be an area of Iowa. It's called Agency. I don't know where that is. Agency, Iowa. So he was found in a field next to an abandoned trailer when there was a 911 call made of a body lying in a field. And so he was quickly found. And it was determined that he had been bludgeoned. And do not ask me how Benjamin Schreiber became the number one suspect and was arrested so quickly, and that his girlfriend was arrested months and months later. They both ended up being convicted, and it was determined he had been bludgeoned with a wooden axe handle.
Not the axe handle.
Axe handle, beaten to death about the head and neck and face with an axe handle. And Evelyn Tangi said that, I wondered if they just pointed fingers at each other. Evelyn Tangi said that they left. They'd all gone to the trailer together. I'm going to guess for not great reasons. There's an abandoned trailer and there are 3 people who live on the fringe. So they probably went to, party. I don't know. And
party.
Yeah, I'm going to call it partying because I don't really know what that means because I'm boring and dull and my vice is Mountain Dew Kickstart Black Cherry. You don't need to go to a trailer to do that because it's legal as far as I know still. I hope it's not ever going to be.
Well, we're working on
I know
that.
you're trying to, get it made illegal, but it's not going to work, buddy. So a axe handle was found on the side of the road near Agency when a resident was walking along the road, and it had blood and hair on it. And he turned it over to the police. And I'll be darned if Evelyn Tangi didn't say, after Benjamin killed John, we left in his car and went back to Ottumwa, and he threw an axe handle out the window.
Uh-huh.
And then a resident is like, hey, I found an axe handle with blood and hair on it. I'm thinking, this could have just been the fastest open and close case ever. But it took about a year. So August of the following year, and by the way, a lot of this information is coming from, the older information is coming from the Des Moines Register. Thank you, belovednewspapers.com. There's also something called the Muscatine, I believe, as a newspaper.
Oh, yeah,
Muscatine.
Right. I'm looking, and it's a very small town.
Agency?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like it's
638 people, according to the last census.
It's Wapello County.
That's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's Wapello County is what I remember reading. So, a year later, I guess this is when his trial comes up. So, Benjamin Schreiber is brought up on trial in August of 1997. So, it's about 13 months after John Terry has been bludgeoned. Not long after that, the lovely Ms. Tangi is arrested. And I don't know why it took so long, but... and her bond was set at $250,000. So she was obviously still in prison too. Now her trial was about 4 months after Benjamin Schreiber's, and she was also convicted. She attempted to have, later on, like 6 months after that, she attempted to have her case thrown out. And it was, because they said that the evidence was hearsay, but then that was reversed. So she ended up still staying in prison.
That's
I know.
A roller coaster.
And this gets more roller coastery. I feel like these people, for having been kind of, shitty, they know every legal loophole, as you will see.
Well, their lawyers do, for sure.
But that they don't have any money, so these are court-appointed attorneys.
Right.
Do court-appointed attorneys work this hard?
Depends on the attorney. They're supposed to, but, some of them are too busy to.
I guess.
If you get a good public defender, they theoretically should work as hard as any attorney.
I guess you're right. I guess I just feel like typically that doesn't happen. You get that lucky. But their court-appointed attorneys go to the fucking mattresses for them, man. It's really weird. So 3 years later, September of 2000, the Court of Appeals threw out her conviction and said that she was convicted because of hearsay statements made by a witness, the witness being Benjamin Schreiber. But then the Supreme Court said that she'd waived her right to this argument and can't show that this would have changed the results of the trial, so the conviction stands. So Evelyn is still in prison and Benjamin is still in prison. Now, cut to...
So this is of today. Right now, they're both still in jail.
Yes.
Okay. And were the sentences like life sentences, or what they...
Without the possibility of parole.
Oh, so they got the next best thing to the death penalty.
Yes.
All right.
Both of them life sentences without the possibility of parole. So, cut to March of 2015. Our good friend Benjamin Schreiber is, in prison in Iowa, serving his life sentence, and he is found unconscious in his cell. And he is rushed to a university hospital, and it's found out that he has large kidney stones that led to him becoming septic, and he became, poisoned because of the kidney stones and the sepsis. And he was unconscious, and he was resuscitated 5 times.
Wow. So did that mean that he technically died during those 5 instances?
He died 5 times and was resuscitated. Or he died 4 times and was resuscitated 5 times.
Right.
So he decides to go to the Iowa Court of Appeals and says that he had momentarily died at the hospital, so he has thereby fulfilled his life sentence and he should be released.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh my God. Wow.
It is interesting. Now, there are extenuating circumstances. He had filed a DNR with the Iowa State Corrections Department, and that is a do not resuscitate. When he was found in his cell unconscious and on his way to University Hospital, they notified his next of kin, which is his brother. And his brother said, you may administer any medicine that will make him comfortable, but other than that, let him go.
Okay.
And they resuscitated him 5 times.
That's not the same as just keeping him comfortable.
No, that's way beyond comfort. And this is not a slam at the medical world, because I can't imagine the life and death decisions that people make. The only thing I can equate to this in my life is that my grandmother had been very sick and was in a hospital in Kentucky when I was here, and there was a DNR that she had signed before she went in, and they resuscitated her 2 or 3 times and then called to tell me that they had resuscitated her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really a good time. And she spent another 8 years in a nursing home. Probably not a great quality of life, but I think as a medical professional, your instinct is to save anyone, no matter who they are.
Right, I think that's hard to do, right?
It's extremely difficult. That's why I'm saying, I don't know. When I don't know. This is such a tough one for me. If someone is on death row, or not death row, who is in prison, for the remainder of their life, no possibility of parole, do you work really hard to save them? And they're, 70 years old?
Well, it's even more interesting if it were the death penalty. He could still say the same thing.
Right.
I died.
Right. I died, and you can't. You're right. You're right. I hadn't thought about that. I was just thinking about, his sentence to spend the rest of his natural life for killing another human being. But I do think I might be in love with this judge. Judge Amanda Potterfield wrote in her decision, Benjamin Schreiber is either alive, in which case he must remain in prison, or he's dead, in which case this appeal is moot. And that's pretty simple and concise.
Yeah.
And yet, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, let me guess. They got to be appealing it, right?
Well, as of, a day ago, so this happened 2 days ago. As of a day ago, his attorney has, not responded to requests of, are you going to appeal this? It's such a weird thing. And I don't know how to feel about this. Except I'm a little sad, I think, that he was even,
That he even tried it? Or?
Yeah, and he went through surgery and they got rid of the kidney stones, and, he filed for post-conviction relief in April of 2018 and said that, he'd fulfilled his life sentence and he should be freed immediately. And he said, whoever wrote this, post-conviction relief appeal for him said, I was sentenced to life without parole, not life plus 1 day.
It's interesting.
It is interesting.
I have to say, so I can't believe they're not going to appeal it. They have to kind of appeal. If they've gone this far.
Right. I think you're right.
And I mean, if it's just what happens is, it seems to me, and I'm no legal scholar here, but
you are kind of.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
You give me way too much credit. But it seems to me that this is an example of where the law is behind technology, in that the death penalty or the sentencing for a life sentence, these are all constructs that date back to way back, even probably before English common law. It goes way back, and it never anticipated having technology that would actually allow someone to die and then be resuscitated from death. When the idea of life sentences, was first applied, it was just assumed that once you're dead, you're dead. So I think that this is going to be an interest. It's not unserious. I think it's a real thing that needs to be adjudicated, and it may be that if it goes to the Supreme Court, and I'm not saying it, I don't know if it's going to or not, but if it goes to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court finds he died, and it said for the rest of your life, well, he died and his sentence is over and he should be released. If that happens, then you're going to have to change how sentencing is done so that the sentence will be something other than, for the rest of your natural life. It will have to be for the rest of any of your natural lives, or something like
your
that.
9 lives, kitty.
However many lives you have, you're going to stay in jail, asshole. It's going to have to change in some way if this is found. It depends. It's going to have to. I think at some point reach that level of the Supreme Court, because the technology is only going to get more advanced, and it's probably going to be possible for someone to be dead a lot longer than they can be now before they're resuscitated. So, interesting.
Okay. So, I got something for you here. Little addendum.
Yes.
The district court, before I get to that, the district court denied Schreiber's request in writing and said that his claim is unpersuasive and without merit. And then the Court of Appeals, 2 days ago, upheld his conviction. Now, what you just said about technology and the future and people being considered deceased and being resuscitated a longer amount of time, I got a little story for you.
Really?
Anne Green was born in 1628, and she was hanged in 1650. She was an English domestic servant who was accused of committing infanticide in 1650.
Yeah, you weren't allowed to do that even back then.
Even back then. So she was a scullery maid, and she was raped by her master's grandson, and she had given birth to a child, and she said the child was stillborn, but they said, no, you killed the child, and she was sentenced to death for infanticide in December of 1650, and she was hanged at Oxford. So at her own request, several of her friends had pulled at her swinging body and actually even struck blows to make sure she was dead.
Wow.
Before she was cut down. She just really wanted to make sure she was dead, right?
Right.
She's pronounced dead by the prison doctor, and then her body is given to medical students for dissection. It's a day later when the dissection is about to start.
No.
And Oxford University physicians Ralph Bathurst, Thomas Willis, William Petty, and Henry Clerk found a faint pulse in Anne Green.
No.
And she was weakly breathing. She was
oh my God,
revived and ended up being healed and regained her health.
Unbelievable.
The strange things they did to her, they had her limbs and extremities rubbed. They put heat plasters over her chest, the upper body of her chest, to keep her warm and to create heat and warmth in her bowels. They poured a hot cordial down her throat. They put her in a warm bed with another woman there to keep her warm.
Oh my God.
And she fully recovered. And she was
amazing.
granted a free pardon.
Back in 1650.
1650, it was considered interference of the hand of God on behalf of the innocent. And many pamphlets were made that were distributed talking about the case. There was one called News from the Dead, written by an Oxford scholar. There were poems written about her.
So now because of this, it was just generally assumed that she was innocent of the crime she was convicted of.
Because God brought her back. Yeah, and she lived another 15 years. She ended up dying in 1665.
Wow.
But
Holy
she was
cow.
given a pardon because she survived her execution.
Okay.
So
Well, there's some legal precedent for you.
I wasn't trying to burst your bubble, because I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right that, the way laws are written and the way the world progresses and is progressing so quickly, there are probably going to be things that are just going to have to be changed with a different wording.
Yeah.
Like you said, I hate doing this, but I can't help it. I love it. This quote from Hunter S. Thompson. He said, "In a closed society where everybody's guilty, the only crime is getting caught. In a world of thieves, the only final sin is stupidity." And I guess we can say Benjamin Schreiber might be an asshole, but he ain't stupid. And I guess we'll see where this goes. And more cowbell.
And if you would like to become a supporter of the podcast, please go to patreon.com/just the Tip-Sters.